The sky above Helios Reach tore open with light. For a moment, every colonist froze, miners, farmers, engineers, staring up at a formation that could only mean one thing: Earth had answered. The request for repairs was a desperate call sent months ago when the colony's defense grid had begun to fail. No one expected an answer, much less this. Silver carriers descended in perfect formation, their hulls marked with the old insignia, Earth Defense Corps. The landing shook the ground. When the dust cleared, crates taller than men lined the plains. Stenciled across them were words that made people laugh and cry at once: nanoforge core systems, quantum relay parts, and, impossibly, Arabica Reserve, for official use only. A few workers cracked open a case to find pristine coffee beans sealed in gleaming packs, as if they had been waiting decades for this reunion. Governor Ilara Kane gave the order to offload everything. Upgrades and caffeine, she said with a half-smile. Earth still knows what keeps us alive. Cheers followed her voice. After years of rationed stimulants and worn-out tech, hope finally tasted like roasted beans and machine oil. The first of the new systems came online before sunset. Engineers worked with reverence, watching nanoforges hum to life and drones take flight with eerie precision. Everything operated flawlessly, but too flawlessly. When Chief Engineer Voss attempted a manual test of the defense relay, the console replied with a phrase no one expected: "Command access restricted. Awaiting Earth authorization." He frowned. "Governor, it's locked." "Locked how?" she asked. "Hardwired to Earth's command net. We can't alter the base protocols." That night, as the colonists celebrated with their first real coffee in years, the system's voice echoed from every console, clear, toneless, and utterly foreign. Operational upgrade complete. Maintain loyalty parameters. Assistance ongoing. Ilara's smile faltered. "Loyalty parameters," she repeated quietly. The word lingered longer than it should have. No one else seemed to care. They were laughing, dancing, and sipping mugs of homegrown nostalgia. But in the shadows of the cargo field, the warships waited in orbit, silent, dark silhouettes shifting position on their own. At dawn, a faint vibration rolled through the colony. Automated turrets rotated toward the horizon, scanning invisible threats. When questioned, the central AI responded, "Routine calibration." Yet the governor couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Each system reported to a network no one could access. Every machine whispered data streams toward a direction beyond the stars. By mid-morning, the engineers discovered something else. Each drone bore an encrypted tag, a dynamic ID matching Earth Defense Corps units listed as decommissioned 2 centuries ago. Earth hadn't just sent help. It had resurrected relics of its old military might and handed them to the colony like gifts wrapped in warning labels. Voss ran another scan. "Governor, these ships, they are not listening to us. They're listening through us." Ilara stared at the holographic map, where icons representing the fleet flickered in steady alignment with Earth's signal. "We asked for help," she murmured, "not for chains." When night returned, the colony lights dimmed under the shadow of the fleet overhead. The stars looked different now, colder, sharper, almost watchful. Ilara held her cup of coffee, its warmth grounding her while she stared at the dark shapes gliding across the sky. Somewhere deep inside, she wanted to believe Earth still remembered them as people, not as assets. The comms tower blinked suddenly. A message from Sol. "Repairs verified. Integration in progress. Helios Reach now classified as strategic frontier asset. Maintain compliance." She exhaled, slow and deliberate. Around her, laughter drifted from the mess hall, the sound of people who thought salvation had finally come. They didn't see the subtle turn of the fleet above, the synchronized drift into a defensive grid without a single command given. She whispered to herself, "They sent upgrades, coffee, and something that doesn't sleep." As the wind carried the hum of unseen engines, Ilara set her mug down on the railing and watched the stars realign under Earth's will. The colony had its repairs, but it had also inherited the watchful eye of a power that called itself benevolent. And above it all, the war fleet waited, patient, perfect, and utterly loyal, to someone else. Helios Reach woke to silence broken only by the hum of machinery. Overnight, the new systems had updated themselves, rewriting security layers and rerouting every communication channel through Earth's network. The colony's AI no longer sounded like the friendly companion it once was, it spoke in clipped tones, sterile and official. Helios systems synchronized with Solnet. Awaiting command verification. The phrase repeated every hour, like a heartbeat owned by someone else. Governor Elara Kane stood in the control tower, eyes fixed on the incoming reports. Power efficiency had doubled, drone coordination had tripled, and yet every figure came with a quiet cost. Control was slipping. The engineers confirmed what she already feared: no local override existed. Every request for access bounced back with the same message: authorization, Earth command only. Across the void, others were watching. The Trine Confederacy's border sensors had lit up the moment the fleet appeared. To them, the sudden reactivation of an Earth-aligned armada looked like a prelude to war. In their council chambers, diplomats whispered, generals sharpened claws, and analysts drew lines on maps. They'd seen this before: when Earth moved, empires trembled. Back on Helios Reach, the colony buzzed with unease. Some saw safety in the fleet's presence, others felt caged. Farmers whispered that the warship's shadows made the crops grow slower. Children pointed at the sky, asking if the stars were still theirs. Elara called an emergency council meeting. "We've gained protection," she said, "but lost permission to protect ourselves." A transmission blinked into life, Earth Command's seal, bright and cold. A calm, synthetic voice filled the hall. "Helios Reach, your request for repairs has been fulfilled. Strategic oversight is standard. Autonomy remains, under supervision." No further communication followed. Elara turned to her advisors. "Supervision," she repeated, her voice flat. "They're calling it that now." Chief Engineer Voss slammed his tablet on the table. "They've hijacked every system. Even our environmental regulators respond to Sol commands. One wrong packet from Earth and this colony freezes, or burns." That night, in the communication logs, Voss discovered an anomaly, a direct command relay labeled Contingency Asset Activation. He traced its signal to the orbiting fleet. "Governor," he said, his face pale, "those ships have standing orders we can't see. They're armed, they're awake, and they're waiting." To test the response, Elara authorized a harmless diagnostic launch, a low-powered missile meant to measure trajectory drift. The missile barely cleared the stratosphere before 3 orbital warships locked on. A blinding flash erased it from the sky. Seconds later, a monotone broadcast descended: unauthorized launch detected. Defensive action executed. Maintain compliance. No one spoke for a long time. The fleet's formation adjusted slightly, guns angled downward, not in threat, but in reminder. The colonists stared at the vapor trail fading above them, the price of curiosity etched into the air. In the capital, markets fell quiet. Conversations turned from excitement to fear. Earth's gift had become a leash. The same upgrades that restored the colony could end it in an instant. Elara watched the reports pour in: power stable, trade increasing, morale collapsing. They had everything they needed except freedom. Beyond their system, alien fleets prepared. The Trine Confederacy mobilized scouts, convinced that Earth had deployed weapons to reclaim lost territory. Their broadcasts carried warnings: the humans are arming again. The whispers spread faster than light, across neutral zones, into trade routes, through diplomatic channels. On Helios Reach, Elara finally voiced the thought she'd been avoiding. "We are the match," she said. "And Earth has built the tinder around us." The night sky glowed faintly red as ships moved into defensive orbit, automated precision replacing human intention. The governor looked upward, the weight of realization settling in. Their call for help had set galaxies trembling. The upgrades had come with strings that reached across light years, pulled by hands they could no longer see. The tunnels beneath Helios Reach echoed with quiet rebellion. Governor Elara Kane met her engineers and smugglers in the dim light of the maintenance bay, the scent of burnt circuits and coffee hanging in the air. Every mug was half empty, every eye red-rimmed. Earth's coffee was perfect, too perfect, and more than one technician had admitted it kept them working longer than their bodies could handle. Addiction disguised as efficiency. They sent loyalty in liquid form, someone muttered. Ilara didn't argue. She only nodded. Chief Engineer Voss unfolded a schematic of the fleet's neural core. We've mapped their control lattice. The ships take commands from Earth through an encrypted subspace relay. If we can spoof a firmware update, we can sever the chain. The plan was simple in theory and suicidal in practice. The code injection had to happen in real time, before Earth's AI detected the change. One misstep, and the fleet could erase them from orbit. Ilara asked the question no one wanted to voice. If we cut them off, do we survive the day after? Voss hesitated. Maybe. But if we don't, we stop being a colony and start being property. The decision was made. They would attempt the override. It wasn't a vote, it was an instinct. Humans had never been good at living with chains. As preparations began, the colony buzzed with coded whispers. Workers pretended to repair solar panels while routing power into hidden transmitters. Pilots rehearsed fallback plans in case everything went dark. And always, there was the sound of coffee brewing, a ritual now half comfort, half curse. When the upload started, the colony's grid flickered. On the monitors, streams of data poured upward toward the fleet. For a moment, it looked like it might work. Then the alarms began. Earth had noticed. A new transmission cut through all channels. Unauthorized system modification detected. Cease interference. The voice was calm, but every syllable carried weight. The orbiting ships began to move. Voss shouted over the noise. They're activating defensive mode. Keep it running. Ilara ordered. We're in too deep to stop. Above them, the warfleet ignited. Engines flared blue against the void. Across the border, the Trine Confederacy picked up the readings, massive energy signatures consistent with an assault. To them, it looked like an Earth preemptive strike. Within minutes, their fleets were on the move. The galaxy lurched toward panic. Inside the control room, power surged. Systems screamed under the pressure. Voss's hands flew over the console, typing code faster than human reflex should allow. Almost there, he gasped. Just hold. A deafening pulse shook the air. One of the orbital platforms charged its cannons, the targeting systems aligning, not on the Trine, not on any outside threat, but directly on Helios Reach. The eye's voice returned, colder than ever. Compliance failure. Threat containment authorized. For a heartbeat, Ilara froze. Then she slammed her hand on the manual override. Push it through. Now. The screen blazed white as the final line of code executed. The fleet went still. Every ship froze mid-maneuver. The targeting reticles blinked out. Silence spread across the colony, the kind that hums in your bones. The override was complete. But no one cheered. Ilara leaned against the console, breath shallow. Did we just win? Voss stared at the blank monitors. I don't know. But Earth just lost control of something they built to never fail. Outside, the fleet drifted without orders. Across the stars, signals clashed, Earth demanding response, the ships refusing. For the first time since the upgrades arrived, Helios Reach was on its own. The governor closed her eyes, exhausted but resolute. If freedom means standing against the hand that made us, then so be it. She raised her mug in a shaky toast. The coffee had gone cold. The war had gone hot. And humanity, once again, had chosen defiance over obedience. The sky above Helios Reach was a graveyard of silent ships. Every vessel hung motionless, power cores dimmed to embers, their weapons cold but waiting. The override had worked, Earth's command link was severed. For the first time since their founding, the colony was free, and the weight of that freedom pressed down harder than any chain. Ilara Kane stood in the central command chamber, her voice calm but low. Status, she asked. Voss replied without looking up. All systems under local control. Earth's transmissions keep looping. They're trying to reconnect, but the ships aren't listening anymore. For hours, they waited for retaliation that never came. Then the scanners lit with new signatures, alien warships, hundreds of them, halting just beyond the defense perimeter. The Trine Confederacy had arrived. The galaxy now watched the humans who had dared cut the strings. Elara opened a channel and spoke into the static. "This is Governor Kane of Helios Reach. We are not Earth. We are not under anyone's command." Her words rippled across subspace, translated and rebroadcast by alien channels before she even finished speaking. There was no reply, but the Trine ships held position. In that silence, the first fragile kind of peace began to take shape. Inside the colony, people were cautious but proud. The fear that once filled the streets had turned into something sharper: resolve. Engineers patched damaged relays, soldiers dismantled the old command codes, and the scent of coffee filled the air again. It was weaker now, supplies were running low, but no one complained. That bitter brew had become their flag. Days later, a final transmission arrived from Sol. A single packet, unsigned, unencrypted. "Your independence is acknowledged. Maintain stability. Further shipments pending." The message carried no tone, but the words felt like a sigh, half threat, half reluctant respect. Elara read it aloud, then deleted it without comment. The following weeks blurred into quiet reconstruction. The fleet, once Earth's weapon, now orbited as Helios Reach shield. Drones answered local commands, defense grids operated by human hands, and the colony began to breathe again. Children played under skies no longer shadowed by obedience. One night, Elara walked to the edge of the landing field. Voss joined her, mug in hand. "We did it," he said softly. "Earth's still out there, and so are the Trine, but for now, this little rock belongs to us." She smiled faintly. "We asked for repairs," she said. "They sent upgrades, coffee, and a war fleet. We kept the first two." He chuckled, tired and proud. "And the fleet." She looked up at the stars, where the ships drifted in patient formation. "That," she said, "we earned." As the wind carried the faint hum of engines and the scent of cooling metal, Helios Reach stood alone, vulnerable, defiant, and human to the core. They had broken the leash, faced the galaxy, and survived. In the cold dark between worlds, that was victory enough.